Hi, I'm Elizabeth Talbot with the Talbot Law Group in Walnut Creek, California, and today I wanted to talk a little bit about the probate process and the different layers of the probate process in California. So first of all, when do you need to go through probate? Well, when someone passes away with more than $184,500 worth of assets that do not have a beneficiary listed, those assets will need to go through probate. So what's a good example of that? A house is a great example of something that needs to go through probate when someone passes away and that house is held only in their name and not in a trust. So what's the first layer of a probate? Well, the first layer is just going to be the California Probate Code, which is the laws governing probate in California. There are over 5,000 of them, which is kind of interesting, so there's a lot to know. But along with those 5,000 separate laws, you have many forms called judicial council forms that are used by the state and the various counties in order to probate an estate. And there's a bit more to it, but those are kind of, the judicial council forms are part of what you use to probate an estate in California. So after just knowing the laws to probate an estate, the next thing to keep in mind is the county where the estate is being probated. So generally, the probate court where the probate is located is where the person passed away, where they resided and then passed away generally. So for example, if someone resided in Santa Clara County, their estate would have to go through the Santa Clara County probate court. Similarly, if they lived in San Mateo County, their estate would have to go through the San Mateo County probate court. Now, each of those probate courts, if we just take those two, for example, are quite different. Each probate court in California has its own set of local rules and processes that they go by. So in general, you want to hire an attorney that's not only familiar with the laws in California, the probate code, highly familiar with that, but also the court in which you're filing your probate. So the specific county's court, okay? Because there's all the local rules that go with that court. They like things done the way they like things done, and they don't have a ton of flexibility around their local rules, if any. Some are stricter than others. So just on a basic level, what is something to keep in mind when you're thinking about the counties and their differences? Well, one would be, how do you file a document with the court? So many counties are using e-filing right now. Santa Clara, for example, uses e-filing, and San Mateo does as well. However, it's good to know that if you e-file in Santa Clara, it can take over 3 weeks, sometimes more, to actually get that filed document returned from the county, which is a huge amount of time. So you have to be really careful to make sure that whatever you file with the county is exactly right, because otherwise in 3 or 4 weeks, they'll come back to you and say, oh, this didn't look quite right. Why don't you try filing it again? And now you're getting more and more behind in the process. San Mateo County, much quicker for e-filing in general, but just something to know, e-filing. Okay, so that's the two layers for the general probate code and then the county's local rules where the probate court is located that you're dealing with. The next thing would be, on top of the local rules, are the probate examiners in that county. So that's kind of an interesting thing. You have all these people at the court that are reading through your paperwork, looking at your filed documents before they're submitting them to the judge, because they're kind of, checking that you have all your ducks in a row before things are allowed to go before the judge. So the probate examiners, having familiarity with them can be important because some probate examiners really like things done a specific way. One county, which is known for its very particular probate examiners, is San Francisco County. So it's always great when you're starting out with a San Francisco County probate matter to know, oh, I could get this probate examiner, and if I get that probate examiner, what's that look like? What do I need to do in order to make sure that everything is approved by that examiner and gets forward to the judge? So that's another layer to the probate process. The law, the local rules, the probate examiner is another one. And then on top of that, you have the judge or the judges in the county, depending on the county. Usually have 1 to 2 probate judges. Contra Costa County, for example, has 2. Marin only has 1. And so it's good to have someone who's familiar with the judge and what that judge kind of thinks and likes, and what's their personality, what do they expect, because once you've sort of checked all the boxes, for example, and made it past the probate examiner, what is the judge going to say and what is the judge going to do? You can't, of course, any attorney can't be sure what they're going to say, but it's good to have a general knowledge of what their sort of disposition is, how particular they are, that kind of thing. So those are some of the layers of the probate court system in California. And in general, it's just great to have someone guiding, if you're going through a probate, great to have someone with knowledge of all 4 of those layers in each county in California, guiding you through the process. Thank you very much.